Cars head to the grid for the first race of the weekend in the Ginetta Championships. There are 3 per category, and this is the first of the Ginetta Junior Championship races on a slippery circuit, 2.5 miles of the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, which is somewhere that up until May of this year the juniors had not raced because, of course, in the previous visits in the Toka package it was always on the short circuit, a new venue for them this year. But although the championship has been won by Freddie Slater with somewhat dominant fashion with a mere 16 wins, there's still a lot to play for second and third in the championship, and of course for drivers eager to score a maiden victory, such as Mikey Porter, third in the championship. He's on the outside of the front row, but he's yet to win this season. He wants to put that right in his quest to be the championship runner-up with the man that's on pole position, his main rival Hugo Schwarzer. Further back on the grid, you've got the view from Reza Siwurathan's car, and it is getting wetter and wetter, it seems, for the drivers, because it's been a mixed morning of conditions. Rain eases a bit, comes back again, and it's going to be a treacherous circuit, that is for sure. Rain on the windscreen, but the formation lap is about to get underway. The grid based on a driver's best qualifying time from the session this morning, with the cars being released one at a time in this random order to try to stop people or teams working together to tow all of their cars around and lock out one part of the grid. So by releasing the cars at intervals, it gets away from that towing element. However, the conditions have been the great level of this morning. Testing yesterday didn't happen because the circuit was so full of standing water that track activity was cancelled, and so now the pace car, as it is, takes the field away on the formation lap. And it's going to be a 20-minute race with Hugo Schwarzer's white car then, the one on pole position. He is second in the championship. He's only had the one victory this year. The black and green car that you can see second on the grid is that of Mikey Porter. And then the second row is Alisha Palmovsky, the runner-up in last year's Winter Series, and third-generation racer from the Hart family, Charlie Hart, lining up alongside in number 50, father a GT racer in myriad things, Chevron, GR8s and the like, and his grandfather a truck racer of years past as well. 22 has dropped to the very back, Nicholas Ellis. Now that car should have been on the penultimate row, the yellow car in the background, but was slow away, and as everybody has gone past, Ellis should start at the back of the grid, and looks like he is holding station though, which is the right thing to do as the cars then turn their way up through the approach to Schwann's Curve. And it's going to be Hugo Schwarzer then and Mikey Porter on the front of the grid, Alisha Palmovsky and Charlie Hart row 2. The third row, Henry Jocelyn and Luca Hopkinson in his sophomore season. And then here you're riding on board with Reza Siwurathan, triple winner, fourth in the championship, and alongside is going to be Tom Spragg, then another triple winner, Chase Fernandez, starting on the 5th row of the grid alongside Edu Robinson. Next will come Felix Libsey and Brea Anglis. This is the grid then. Hugo Schwarzer on pole, Mikey Porter for company, then Alisha Palmovsky and Charlie Hart. Henry Jocelyn and Luca Hopkinson drivers to watch from the 3rd row of the grid, ahead of Reza Siwurathan and the Prep Tech car of Tom Spragg. After that, there is Chase Fernandez and Edu Robinson lining up together ahead of Felix Libsey. And alongside the man from Preston is Brea Anglis. Then Alfie Davis and Tom Ingram Hill. Kind of blast from the past because it was from Ginetta Juniors that Tom Ingram came, of course, before winning the British Touring Car Championship. Nicholas Ellis now at the back, but Jack Robinson is where he should be on the 8th row, and the 9th row, Holly Mile and Harry Moss. And then it will be starting at the back, Nicholas Ellis having dropped to the rear, slow away from the grid. Down towards the Melbourne hairpin they come. Then out of the tight right-hander, onto the power, up the hill the other side towards Goddard's, and then the end of 2.5 miles of the Grand Prix circuit. This configuration of Donington opened in 1985 to welcome the then European Formula 3000 Championship, because the FIA, or FISA as it then was, said that the circuits had to be of a given length, and the only way to make Donington of the requisite mileage, because the short circuit was just under 2 miles, was to put that loop on at the back. So it opened in 1985, and the cars now then head to the grid. The marshals stand with the flags to say you need to stop here, and the field will slot into place. And then on a road that is certainly treacherous, the cars will be released into battle very shortly. The first of the 3 races for this final weekend in the championship that began at Alton Park over Easter. It went to the Grand Prix circuit at Silverstone, here to Donington, then that mixed weekend of racing on the Silverstone National and Grand Prix circuits before heading to Snetterton, to Cadwell Park, and last time out the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Championship won already by Freddie Slater, who's moved on to Formula 4. Green flag says that everybody's back from the formation lap, and so now drivers will look towards the lighting gantry. Lights will go red, engine notes will rise, and when the lights go out now, it is blast off, and a good start by Mikey Porter from the outside of the front row. He gets the drop on everybody else. There are cars on the grass. Look, squeezed Chase Fernandez down towards Redgate, but he gets back onto the tarmac. Get onto the grass, get onto the curbs. You're going to run out of traction very, very quickly. But Mikey Porter it is that leads the way as they round Redgate for the first time. But as he goes a little bit wide coming out of the corner, up the inside goes the white car of Hugo Schwarzer. They drop downhill for the first time out of Hollywood, overlapping. And who's going to be the really brave one at the bottom of the hill? This is Reza Sirorathan's view, and you can see that there's not much of a dry line and a spin, and that's Mikey Porter by the look of it. He's in the gravel. So Mikey Porter, fighting to be the runner-up in the championship, is in the gravel. The leader is off the road as well, Hugo Schwarzer, and that means that up ahead of them all, it's going to come Alicia Palmovsky, another driver without a win to her name this year, but it's Alicia Palmovsky who leads the way. Mikey Porter in the gravel. Now, wet gravel compact. Can he drive himself out of there, or is the car going to be absolutely stuck fast? Red flag comes from race control. Red flag. So the clerk of the course, Paul Levitt, calls for a stoppage rather than a safety car, and so the race is stopped. That is the reason for it, and I suspect it would have been deemed to have taken such a long time to get that car out of the gravel that it would have resulted in very few racing laps. But the net result is that the race is stopped and we'll try again. Now, whether or not Mikey Porter is going to be allowed into the race, I rather doubt, because to get out of the gravel, he's going to have mechanical assistance, and normally that rules you out of it. So the snatch vehicle is there, but that rather looks as though Mikey Porter is not going to be able to get back into the race, but we will see. What it does do is give Nicholas Ellis a chance to get his grid position back, and let's have a look at how it all kicked off. But Mikey Porter had made that really good start, only for it all to unravel on his way down through the Craner curves. It illustrates the point I was making about how treacherous the road is. Good getaway look. So the black and green car of Mikey Porter moves across the front of the pack. In the background, you see there the car of Chase Fernandez being squeezed towards the foliage, and he gets it back onto the tarmac as the cars then now come down through Redgate Corner. And then side by side out of Hollywood, down through the Craner curves. And then this was what it was like for the race lead, as into the lead went Hugo Schwarzer. Mikey Porter was braver on the inside, but just lost the back of it. Around he went and plunged off into the gravel bed and absolutely stuck fast. Well, one question is answered, in as much as there's absolutely no chance of him getting out of there. And the net result of all of that is that the red flag flies and the race comes to a temporary halt. This is how Reza Sirorathan saw it, coming down through the Craner curves. Big spin ahead from Mikey Porter, and the car off the road, and everybody else goes through. You see Hugo Schwarzer running wide. He loses the lead, but it sort of matters little in the end because everybody else was able to, under the red flag, get their original grid position back. But Schwarzer will be keen, of course, not to make mistakes second time around. So the cars will re-grid, and the drivers then have the red lights by the side of the circuit, and then the race stopped, cars making their way up to the grid. So everybody now making their way to the grid. So the car's now being brought forward onto the grid. It should be the original grid order, but I suspect without Mikey Porter this time around, having been in the gravel. So we'll double check, but the field then heading to the grid. I think we'd seen Mikey Porter's car going through the snatch gap, as it's called. So that means that's going to be out of the race. So the field then now into place. And what this is going to do to the race duration. For the moment, seemingly nothing. It's still 20 minutes on the clock. But it might be that because there'll be another formation lap, it could be reduced purely to make sure they have enough fuel for the race itself. So everybody onto the grid. And very shortly, once the officials are happy, then the formation lap will be underway. And it still says 20 minutes on the timing screen. So it looks as though it is going to be the full duration. Cars in place. So the grid is formed, as you can see. The track is clear. And so we should be in business very shortly. So everybody good to go. And now Hugo Schwarzer has this clear run with no real opposition alongside. So the cars then now accelerate away. And the formation lap, take 2, is underway. So we'll try again as far as Ginetta Juniors are concerned. And this time around, there is no Mikey Porter. Now that's going to have a knock-on effect, of course, for the second place in the championship, but Hugo Schwarzer now just needs to keep out of trouble and bank some points out of all of this. It's a shame because Mikey Porter, I think I said before the race started, yet to win, and he's not going to win this one quite clearly, and it means that the pressure is on tomorrow, not only to get that maiden win, but score points as well. So what looked like an innocuous spin has ended up with a red flag, a restarted race, and the cars then once more wipers on with the spray, making their way around to the grid. So here's what we prepared earlier. Try again with the Ginetta Juniors. It's still a tremendous championship, this. It's moved, of course, this year away from supporting touring cars to supporting GT racing, but it remains a great way for young drivers to prove their ability. Freddie Slater having been the dominant champion, and like Lando Norris in previous seasons, then going into F4, and then in the case of Freddie Slater, he hopes up through the ranks of single-seater racing. Others have used this as a platform to go into GT racing. It seems every second driver you talk about in GT4 racing has come out of Ginetta Juniors, and some, of course, towards touring cars. Tom Ingram, Jake Hill amongst the pick of the crop. And Tom Ingram here this weekend, in fact, having his British GT Championship debut in GT4 machinery. So the drivers over the years who have come out of the Ginetta Junior ranks have gone in all directions. And it's certainly been a very, very successful concept indeed in these Ginetta G40s with the 1800cc detuned engines to make them safer for the younger, inexperienced drivers, although many have got a very, very good pedigree, of course, in karting before they come into this. And there's a winter championship, or there has been traditionally, so some of them did that last year by way of some preparation for this season. There is rain falling once again. It's been one of those days at Donington just when you think it's stopped, so it comes again to trick you and to make tyre choice for drivers and teams ever more of a problem. But 20 minutes, take 2 for Ginetta Juniors then as they come up towards Goddard's, heading up towards the grid. And very shortly we will be in business once again. And Hugo Schwarzer very much starting as the favourite now on pole position and with limited opposition. So he slots into place on pole. Second row, the yellow car there of Alicia Palmovsky, who can feel a little bit frustrated, to say the least, having got into the lead with the dramas at the old hairpin, only for the race to be stopped. Charlie Hart alongside in the silver colours. Alicia Palmovsky, runner-up in the Winter Series last year. Right. Here we go again then, because the green flag shows that everybody is back from the formation lap. The drivers now look towards the lights, and for 20 minutes of Ginetta Junior racing, take 2, race 1 is underway. Good getaway this time by Schwarzer. 1 or 2 not quite so quick out of the blocks compared to how they were the first time around, such as Chase Fernandez, who at least this time doesn't have to get his wheels on the grass, but as they dive down towards Redgate Corner, Charlie Hart in the silver car breaks late. Up on the inside line, a big, big dive there comes through from Henry Jocelyn, and way out wide in number 74 is forced Alfie Davis. Is he going to survive? This is Sue Urathan's view once more down through Hollywood. Harry Jocelyn just ahead as the cars then arrive at the old hairpin. It's all getting a little bit unravelled though for Siwurathan. Hangs onto a big slide. Schwarzer is away and gone already by about 3 lengths. Big dive on the inside. Through goes in number 26 then, Henry Jocelyn in the Prep Tech car, but they've all survived the old hairpin. Whether they survive the lap is a moot point because it's all getting a bit leery in mid-pack. But the race leader then trying to get away, which is Hugo Schwarzer. Great little battle going on behind then for third place. Top 2 broken away, but Henry Jocelyn up into third place, gets a bit crossed up. Charlie Hart in number 50 gets run out wide, and that now allows Reza Siwurathan through on the inside line to try to go forth. And no, they're not going to survive the first lap because we've got one in the gravel already. That is Harry Moss, and that is down at the old hairpin exit by the look of it. So it was a red flag first time for a car in the gravel. Maybe with that being a bit closer to the edge of the road, it might be able to be pushed out of there. But I still fear that the race might end up being neutralised in some form as the cars then come down towards the S's. Schwarzer just ahead of Palmovsky then as they rattle over the curb. Charlie Hart going backwards in all of this. And yes, great work by the marshals. They managed to get Harry Moss's car out of the gravel and he's back in the race as the leaders dive down towards the Melbourne hairpin. And if anything, that gap second to third is coming down. Chase Fernandez up the inside of Charlie Hart. Contact behind because late on the brakes in number 51 was Edu Robinson for R Racing. And he ran out of road, leaned on a few as he went wide, but the leaders coming up towards the end of lap number 1. Charlie Hart clearly struggling in these conditions because the second row he has dropped over the course of this opening lap of the race. As they come through then now, number 48 goes by, that being the R Racing car of Luca Hopkinson. So the race leader is Hugo Schwarzer at the end of lap 1. He's 0.8 of a second ahead of Alisha Palmovsky. In third place it is number 26, the car from Prep Tech of Henry Jocelyn. In fourth place, Reza Siwurathan in another of the R Racing fleet. Good little battle going on there between Tom Ingram Hill and Alfie Davis, who we'd seen get run out wide onto the curb coming out of Redgate on the opening lap. And joining that mix as well is, as they drop down through the Craner curves, Edu Robinson. And one rather badly delayed, of course, after his spin is Harry Moss trying to play catch-up. And off the road again, slivers, number 51. Edu Robinson recovering, but time lost then as he battles his way back onto the circuit. There are the 2 race leaders, and actually Schwarzer is not disappearing up the road here. Alisha Palmovsky trying to stay with him. Palmovsky, another driver who has been there or thereabouts just about every race, but unlucky and yet to score a victory. But the pace has been pretty decent all year in what has made everybody in the shadow, really, of the dominant Freddie Slater, whose father was, of course, a very successful Porsche racer, Adrian Slater, not that long ago. Battle on here, look, as you see, heading in towards the S's, number 78, which is Reza Siwurathan, right on the back of Jocelyn, unable to find a way through the chicane these days because of the low curves, a little bit softer than it used to be when it was a really hard braking zone and you could get up the inside and out brake, but these days it's really one line through there and it includes the curve. Down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Fight on here for third place. Gap between the leaders has come down and actually these 2 are getting a little bit nearer perhaps to the top 2 as well. You see the screen rather badly smeared from Siwurathan. It's no better on the inside nor the outside, so visibility is at a premium now. He's going to struggle here, coming up towards the left of Goddard's. Fight the car onto the pit straight. Big slide by Henry Jocelyn, but he controls it. There is number 78 then, Reza Siwurathan, former Carter, triple winner this year. So a bit of a surprise that Reza was only on the 4th row of the grid, but going pretty well here, closing onto the back of Jocelyn. Behind them in 5th place, Chase Fernandez, number 90. He's just done the fastest lap of the race. So Chase living up to his name, closing on the pack ahead and illustrating good pace in the process of doing all of that, having also moved himself now up past Luca Hopkinson's car. But the gap between the race leaders down from 0.8 to just under 0.6 this time through. As you see Siwurathan looking for traction down towards the old hairpin as the lead changed up the road. Not quite, but they're absolutely nose to tail now. Hugo Schwarzer under huge pressure from Alisha Palmovsky as the 2 of them go through absolutely nose to tail. There is Charlie Hart, number 50, down in 7th place from 4th on the grid, so struggling, but for the race lead, looks as though Palmovsky's lining up to make a move as they tiptoe out of McLean's corner now. This is the run up the hill. And another one in the gravel, and that is the car of Jack Robinson that we have lost. And yet again, that plunge down through the Craner curves to the old hairpin is the part of the circuit that has caught them out. So That's the third car that we've had in the gravel, and let's see what happens this time around as the leaders dive down towards the S's. Alicia Palmovsky close, but not committing to make a move there. Maybe down at the Melbourne hairpin, that would be the place to challenge. The cars flick through the chicane, safety car now deployed. Safety car called, 14 minutes on the clock, and the safety car is called for. So no overtaking permitted. That's the reason, of course, to try to get number 45, Jack Robinson's car, out of the gravel. And the safety car is on track. Let's try and piece together what happened to the Fox Motorsport car. All self-induced, a little bit too much speed, ran out of traction, round it went, and beached in the gravel trap is then Jack Robinson, and that is his race done. This brings Harry Moss back into the mix because he will catch the pack of cars after his earlier trip into the gravel bed. There is the safety car ready and waiting. So the race order at the end of lap 3 is Hugo Schwarzer ahead of Alicia Palmovsky. Then you've got Henry Jocelyn in 3rd place. Risa Siworthen is 4th. 5th, it is Chase Fernandez. And then Luca Hopkinson in 6th. Charlie Hart is in 7th place. Tom Spragg runs 8th. In 9th, it is currently Felix Livesey. And 10th, Bria Anglis as the cars turn through Redgate. It's a long lap, of course, the 2.5 mile Grand Prix circuit here, but the other element of all of this is that there's not that much time, relatively speaking, left in the race. 13 minutes, but the marshals and the recovery crew down at the old hairpin are absolutely on it because they've already managed to drag the car most of the way through the gravel. And there, the car of Jack Robinson will be pretty much clear, I think, by the time the pack have all gone by. So with a bit of luck, we might even be able to get the race underway at the end of this lap. So they'll only lose 1 lap effectively, but you don't get that many into a 20-minute race in the wet around 2.5 miles of a lap anyway. But when the lights go out on top of the safety car, we'll know it's due in. For the moment, the lights flash, and Risa Siworthen here still trying to cope with these tricky conditions, absolutely tonking over the line. Harry Moss trying to catch the queue of cars, and he's still got quite a lot of circuit to make up. Right, the lights are still flashing, so race control will be looking at the CCTV camera pictures, seeing where the marshals are, where the car is, where the snatch vehicle is, whether it's going to be safe to release them this time. Number 51 there you can see, which is Edu Robinson's car. 22 at the very back, that being Nick Ellis in one of the Elite Motorsport cars, and there, still chasing, is Harry Moss. He can't go absolutely flat chat under the safety car, but he does want to try and catch the queue. Number 45 then, Jack Robinson, his car out of harm's way now, so we could just about go racing. Maybe they're going to give Harry Moss a chance to catch up, but no, lights are out, so yeah, it'll be just the 1 lap under the safety car, and then we'll be back in business, and it's going to be that run down towards Redgate Corner that's going to be critical for Alicia Palmovsky to try to make a move against Hugo Schwarzer for the race lead. So down to the Melbourne hairpin they come. Schwarzer in the white car, Palmovsky behind. 3rd, Henry Jocelyn. This 4th, Risa Siworthen, with visibility slightly obscured. But it's up to Hugo Schwarzer now to try to control the pace, ready for the restart. Go for a 2nd victory of the season. Pace quickens then as they come out of the hairpin. 2nd gear grabbed by Siworthen, now 3rd. And you can see the spray being thrown into his face as they come into the left-hander of Goddard's then. Now through the hairpin, back onto the power. Green flag will greet them this time, and we will go back racing in this anti-penultimate round of the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship. Green flag on the line, and it is Schwarzer, Palmovsky and Jocelyn, then 1, 2 and 3 that go over the timing line down towards Redgate Corner. Chase Fernandez on the outside, try to go to the inside against Siworthen, who'd already covered off the line, or has he? Chase Fernandez does make a move up on the inside. This is for 4th place. Siworthen gets run out wide. To the right is Chase Fernandez, absolutely side by side, and it's also changing ahead of them. Look for 2nd place. They're leaning on each other for 4th, but Jocelyn's up the inside of Palmovsky's yellow and black car for 2nd place as they drop down to the old hairpin. Side by side for 2nd, side by side for 4th. Jocelyn on the outside, Palmovsky out the curb on the in, and Siworthen has fallen back in the queue. but he's on the attack again as they head up through Schwant's curve now. And that has absolutely played into the hands of Hugo Schwarzer, who is away and gone now. Second, Jocelyn just ahead, but on the outside line. Tries to cut across and get the line for the corner, but it ain't going to happen, I don't think. But they're still side by side all the way around McLean's. The great thing about Ginetta Junior racing is that the drivers have limited imagination about what can happen if you sit on the outside line. He's always delivered great racing, and here's more evidence of it. From the outside to the in goes Henry Jocelyn, and lines up for a move on the outside down towards the S's. Right there in the pack now. Chase Fernandez up into fourth, down to fifth. Reza Siwuratham. Yes, we can go three wide down towards the S's, and Chase Fernandez is a man on a mission because he's cleared all of them up into third place. Fantastic. Through he goes. Is that third or is that second for him? It's going to be second spot when he comes out. Siwuratham's up into third. Fourth now is Jocelyn, down to fifth is Palmovsky. In sixth place it is Luca Hopkinson, and so Chase Fernandez, who started the lap in fifth, is second by the time they get to the Melbourne hairpin in one of the moves of the season. Got a mega toe and was hugely brave on the inside line, stuck to his guns, and everybody else make their own arrangements, and so Chase Fernandez up into second place. Great effort this. So Chase Fernandez, a triple winner this season, comes now down into Goddard. Palmovsky now is the one going backwards as Charlie Hart gets up on the inside and goes through in number 50, the silver car, another out of the Elite Motorsport stable. And so Alicia Palmovsky, in yet another of the elite fleet, falls back in the pack as they go over the line. So Schwarzer to Fernandez then is 2 seconds. We've got 8 minutes on the clock still to run. And as they round Redgate, now we'll start to get an idea of the pace of Chase Fernandez relative to that of the race leader, because it will be clear road ahead of him. Palmovsky goes through there just ahead of Tom Spragg as they drop down through the Craner curves once more. This is lap number 6. Into the braking zone. Palmovsky on the brakes, and this was Chase Fernandez. He's already cleared them by the time he gets into the S's. This super slow-mo shot. Look at how much curb he uses. Kathunk on the inside. And that just unsettles the car enough to need a bit of correction to be applied. Now, that in theory should be a track limit warning for him and also for Siwuratham behind, because none of the wheels were in contact with the track. They were on the curb, most definitely. Contact there. Jocelyn up the inside of Siwuratham, so they're still hard at it. And again, more contact. Bang, bang, knock, knock. Nose to tail out of Coppice corner. Race leader Hugo Schwarzer has disappeared up the road. Now, what happened out of all of that to Chase Fernandez in number 90, because I think he's dropped away a little bit as they come now down into the S's once more. So back through there goes Siwuratham. Jocelyn comes next, and then Luca Hopkinson, number 48, is next in the queue as they drop down again towards the Melbourne hairpin. Damage on the back of Jocelyn's car. But yeah, somewhere we have lost Chase Fernandez, haven't we, out of all of that? While we were looking at the replay, the man that was second we've lost, and contact there turns Hopkinson around. Charlie Hart got into the back of him. Hopkinson to the gravel. Day done. That stops him in his tracks. Gravel trap does what it's meant to. Jocelyn's gone around as well, so that's 2 cars we've lost at the Melbourne hairpin. Somewhere there is Chase Fernandez, who's either dropped off the road or dropped down the pack. We need to try and piece that together as Henry Jocelyn, after all that jostling for position, tries to get back in the right direction. And so Hugo Schwarzer is still in the lead. I don't think anybody wants to be second in this. Anybody that is second has a moment. It is now Reza Siwuratham in second place. Third is Palmovsky. Chase Fernandez is fourth then, having dropped back. In fifth place it's Tom Spragg. Sixth is Felix Livesey. Seventh is Charlie Hart. In eighth place, Odu Robinson. Ninth, Brett Anglis. And 10th is Tom Ingram Hill as the cars come out of Redgate onto the top of the Craner curves. We're on lap 7. What have we got? Just under 6 minutes to go. And the survivors head downhill. Right, this is what happened to Chase Fernandez. Wide at the old hairpin, through the gravel, all over the grass, toboggans his way back towards the tarmac. But he did the right thing. Rather than try and quickly steer back onto the road, he just let the car find its own line. And that's why he was so far back in the queue. He's risen back up the order a bit. Meanwhile, down at the Melbourne hairpin, that is the car of Luca Hopkinson that needs to be retrieved. Henry Jocelyn did get going. We have him in 15th, yes, last place. We've got the safety car again, so our second visit of the safety car. So when they're going, they go well, just that they fall off. And in these conditions, it is perhaps understandable because it is very, very greasy, very treacherous out there. Let's try and piece it all together. So this was the view. Have a look at the sort of inside of the road. Charlie Hart in the silver car tries to go to the inside and just mistimes it, because as he's going for the inside, Luca Hopkinson is braking, Hart gets into the back of him, around goes Hopkinson, that plonks him into the gravel bed, and that's that. Henry Jocelyn also had a spin, possibly with a bit of assistance, because there he is, in the middle of the road. Everyone's dodged around him, but whether he fell or whether he was pushed, we might be able to piece together in due course, but the net result is safety car. And so Reza Silwirathan, who's been up and down the order like the you-know-what draws, is now in second place. And he was 4 seconds back, and he's now right on the tail of Schwarzer, hoping that he gets time to have a go for the race lead. Yellows wave still as the cars come into Goddard's. Now, how many more laps is it going to take to move the stricken car? Again, the good news is that there is that access road into the paddock, so it won't take long to get it out of the way. Safety car conditions called for. The safety car is just joining the racetrack now, because this will be the first time they've gone down towards pit out. Can therefore be picked up by the safety car. There it is, but you can see on the clock less than 4 minutes to go. The best lap of the race anyway is just over 2 minutes, so it might be that we just get one racing lap at best. We'll see. So, lively racing, as has been the hallmark of Ginetta Junior racing. You can see the damage on the front of number 50, Charlie Hart's car, where the left side headlight cover has been knocked slightly out of kilter. So ideally, the road will be clear on this lap. We'll get one racing lap in, and there is Luca Hopkinson's R racing car. Marshall's supervising the recovery. But again, great work by the snatch vehicle crew. They are well drilled at Donington these days to get cars out of the way. Very rapidly to get the car out of the way. No mucking about here, which is great to see. It's not quite so quick at other venues, but here, exemplary work from the recovery crew. And so the lights hopefully will be out on the safety car. We will get one racing lap in. What have we got? Just under 3 minutes. So it could be one racing lap at most. And there is Henry Jocelyn, who'd raced well earlier on. Luca Hopkinson's car out of the gravel. That will all now drop from the bottom of the car, and it all gets swept back into place. And fingers crossed it won't be long before we can get things back underway then, as the cars now turn into Coppice. So it's been a race, really, changing fortunes for everybody, with the exception of the race leader, Hugo Schwarzer. After running wide in the bit that never happened, if you like, before the red flag, on the restart, he's been able to control everything. Can he do so for one more lap? Because there is now less than a lap time left in the race. So it will be, assuming the safety car peels in this time, and yes, the lights are out, one racing lap then. So one more lap for Hugo Schwarzer to try to repel everybody. View as they come down to Melbourne hairpin. So Hugo Schwarzer stacks them all up, ready to sprint away on the restarts. He's dropped a long way back from the safety car. A minute and a half before the checkered flag, so he might need to quicken his pace a little bit. Into the hairpin, Hugo Schwarzer has them all queued up behind, and on the exit of the hairpin, the German driver, McCarter, should blast away. A win and 5 seconds, his best results of the year. And so now we are, with the pace quickening, heading back up towards Goddard's. They'll come out of the left-hand hairpin and find a green flag, which will get them onto the last lap of the race. And there, going through, is Reza Silwirathan in second spot, Alicia Palmovsky third, as they go over the timing line, back racing then. So Schwarzer across the line ahead, Chase Fernandez fourth, trying to make amends. And down they dive in towards Redgate Corner. Now, Felix Livesey is being shown as having some sort of penalty. There he is, number 31, battling with Charlie Hart. But on the timing screen, there is a little exclamation mark next to his name. There's no message suggesting there is a penalty, but there's something in the system to do with Felix Livesey. So watch this space. Downhill he goes through the exit of Hollywood, through the Craner curves. Reza Silwirathan, with about 2/3 of a lap to go, gets a tighter line at the old hairpin, but he still can't find a way up alongside Schwarzer. Grabs a gear now. Out wide goes Livesey, 2 wheels in the gravel, bounces back onto the racetrack. Charlie Hart round the outside, up the curb goes Felix Livesey on the inside there. Race leaders up towards McLeod, and Schwarzer very quick into the corner, gets all crossed up, couldn't slow the car down. does keep the race lead, found all the slippery part of the circuit and just about got away with that, but that was very close to the edge for him. Siwurathan lines up for a dive on the inside, coming through Coppice, gets the inside line. He's alongside Schwarzer, the two of them then with half a lap, if that, to go. Down towards the S's, it's going to be Hugo Schwarzer on the inside, but Reza Siwurathan knows this is his best chance yet to get the advantage. Down they come for the last time. Last of the late breakers is going to be Hugo Schwarzer on the inside. Back in front he goes. Rattles over the curb left, rattles over the curb right, down towards the Melbourne hairpin. To the inside line goes Siwurathan. That line is blocked by Schwarzer, but Siwurathan doesn't dive much to the outside. Let's see what he can do coming into the corner now. It's all kicking off for third as well. Fernandez up the inside of Palmowski. Side by side for third. Catching in fifth is Tom Spragg. There's one corner to go for Reza Siwurathan. Palmowski is on the grass. That's going to give Tom Spragg fourth place for the race lead. One corner to go. It's got to be a big send from Siwurathan on the inside, and it doesn't happen. So Hugo Schwarzer leads into Goddard's. Unless he goes wide, will lead up to the line as well for a second win of the year. Checkered flag is at the ready. Nose to tail they come through, and it is Hugo Schwarzer then who takes the race win. Reza Siwurathan in second place, and third, Chase Fernandez. Tom Spragg for fourth. Alicia Palmowski fifth in the end, ahead of Charlie Hart, Edu Robinson, Brea Anglis, Tom Ingram Hill, and then the top 10 rounded out by Alfie Davis. And 12th in the classification is Felix Livesey, and a penalty has been applied, a 5-second penalty to Felix Livesey for track limit offences. So that's why there was the exclamation mark, and that came up just in the last few moments. So it is a race win for the man on pole position. It all sounds terribly easy, but Hugo Schwarzer it is who comes through as the race winner. Now this is the last lap of the race. Hugo Schwarzer, all four wheels over the curb on the way in, and on the way out it is all four wheels onto the curb there. So in theory you should have at least one wheel in contact with the tarmac. Discuss. Anyway, it was a great race. Race control can have a look and do what they need to do, but for now Hugo Schwarzer then takes honours. It would only be a penalty in fairness if there are repeated transgressions rather than a one-off, but Hugo Schwarzer then comes home victorious from Reza Siwurathan, 0.3 of a second the margin. Race one of the weekend in the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship goes to Hugo Schwarzer for a second win of the season, ahead of Reza Siwurathan and Chase Fernandez. A really good drive for third. Tom Spragg fourth from Alicia Palmowski. Charlie Hart sixth, then Edu Robinson, Brea Anglis, Tom Ingram Hill and Alfie Davis to round out the top 10. Henry Jocelyn recovering to 11th after a spin. Felix Livesey 12th with a penalty. And quite a few of them, of course, we lost for various incidents, including Mikey Porter, who triggered the red flag. Let's look at the best bits then of a very, very busy race one. This was take one, and it was a good start from Mikey Porter that put him into the lead, ahead of Hugo Schwarzer on the way down towards Redgate Corner. By the time they got to the bottom of the Craner curves, though, Porter would be in the gravel, facing the wrong way, and that triggered a red flag. Race was stopped, race was restarted, and Hugo Schwarzer was relieved because not only had he seen off his main opposition, Mikey Porter, who was in the gravel, but Schwarzer himself had run wide at the old hairpin, slithered off the road and let Alicia Palmowski by into the lead. But Mikey Porter was going nowhere, and on the restart, Schwarzer was able to convert pole position into the lead, with Palmowski squabbling with Charlie Hart in second place. Henry Jocelyn made a good move on the inside to go almost 3 wide into Redgate. Hart dropped away in the first part of the race, and again there were plenty of drivers in the walls with people dropping into the gravel. And one such was Jack Robinson, who triggered a safety car, the first of 2. But the racing got back underway. Chase Fernandez in the E3 Sport car of Jim Edwards pulled off a great move to get up the inside of the traffic to go into second place. But then he had his own moment down at the old hairpin and fell back in the queue. That meant that he had to do the hard work all over again. We then had yet another safety car interruption after into the gravel went Luca Hopkinson. That was down at the Melbourne hairpin. But through it all came Hugo Schwarzer to hang on to the win. That was how Hopkinson got to the gravel and ended up bringing out the second safety car period. And it gave us just a one-lap blast to the end. And Schwarzer was a lucky driver in a sense, because he also nearly came to grief at McLean's. But he hung on to score victory in the first race of the weekend, and they're back on track at 9:10 for more drama tomorrow morning.